Hello, class. Professor Cisneros here. We're going to talk some about week one. This is the week one wrap up, and we'll touch on week two. So, in week one, we were to, or we were to explore your cultural competency orientation through a self-assessment, leadership, and communication styles, and evaluate how a project manager can effectively utilize cultural competency orientation to lead and manage a team. Uh, there was a lot of good discussion about this. Discussed indirect versus direct communication, and so there were a few things that I'd like to share with you as part of my experience as having done this many different teams, many different types of teams, many different size teams for a lot of years. And in addition to that, been had many people from different countries on my teams. And for me, it came down to a number of things. Always having and showing respect for the individual that you're dealing with or the individuals that you're dealing with. And that comes down to learning about them. And again, this sort of overlaps with your cultural competency. In the video, it struck me in the very beginning when one of the members, he appeared to be Hispanic, well, and then of course when he talked about missing the quinceañera, this and the supervisor sort of downplaying and just sort of chalking it up to being some little party. Again, that did not show the appropriate amount of respect for him because it failed to understand the importance of that. And that can be true for many things. Sometimes it can be a small basketball game, just being able to see your child play at a middle school basketball game, or whatever the case may be. You show respect by actually learning about these things and about the people that work for you. The others are patience and being polite, and another huge one is also being attuned to how your presentation, and presentation could mean anything from giving instructions to a subordinate that takes 30, 45 seconds to something that you're going to be presenting, say, before 300 investigators and their staff about the protocol. So when you're dealing with individuals, this perception, especially for direct, and this can apply to both, but individuals who are very direct tend to come across as somewhat aggressive, and so you have to be very attuned to your facial expressions and your body language, especially when you're communicating with somebody who can be rather meek and insecure. This aggressiveness coming across that way, an individual can interpret that, and that's all they'll see. They'll completely not be able to remember the instruction that you gave. All they'll take away from that is the aggressiveness. And this can be, you can apply that if you're indirect, and that can also take a lot of different directions, and you come across as small and weak, then you won't have the appropriate amount of respect from your subordinate to take the instruction that you've given them seriously. So you have to be aware of the extremes and everything in between. I myself have a problem with facial expressions, and because when I'm deep in thought, when I'm focused and I'm concentrating, whether it's on something that it's sitting on my desk and I'm thinking about some task that I need to do, or I'm actually listening to the person who's speaking to me, my facial expressions often come across as well, quite frankly, as angry. And so I have to be always aware of that. And if you are attuned to that, you can avoid some of the pitfalls that can come with that. Otherwise, I thought everybody did a pretty good job. One of the things that I liked, that I saw a number of times, and that I've always encouraged all of my students to do, is when you're answering questions on the discussion board, write out the question and then write your answer. Write out the question and then write your answer, rather than having essentially 2 or 3 paragraphs, and you have to read the entire paragraph to know exactly what question you're responding to. Same thing applies for the assignments. There are going to be certain topics that you're going to need to address, and then writing those out as headers, and then your response to that, again, to whatever question, whatever topic you're being asked to respond to or address. So let's see. Week 2, we're going to be assessing time and resources used by 3 different models. So you're going to be looking at a sponsor model for CRAs. You're going to be looking at a CRO model and a completely independent CRA model. This is always a fun exercise, or I think one that's very informative, and one that you will encounter as a real thing. The independents have their niche, and sometimes you find that you're going to get a mix depending on the situation and the company that you work for and the size and whatnot. But all in all, it gives you a lot of direction as to how to figure out what's cost effective. So, as always, if you have any questions, reach out to me via email. You can text me on my phone if time is the essence. Otherwise, I look forward to reading your posts on the discussion board. You all have a good night.